Hi. In this masterclass, we are going to look at how to start thinking about yourself in a more positive way. Do you remember from your formulation the part where we talk about negative perceptions of self? Okay, so the question now is, how do you change it? Well, there are various ways in which you can improve self-esteem and how you think about yourself. But there is one technique which is simple and not at all time-consuming, that throughout my years and years of clinical practice I found to be the most effective and powerful in terms of improving low self-esteem in my clients. Let me ask you a question. How often during the day or over a week do you praise yourself or give yourself a pat on the back? How often do you recognize positive sides of yourself? Often, my client's answer is, not that many times or not at all. So if that was your answer, you are not alone. A lot of people do this. And now, tell me, how often do you criticize yourself, or put yourself down, or say something unkind to yourself? My guess here is that you answered that you do it more often than praising yourself. Probably much more. We sometimes have this unhelpful tendency of focusing on our shortcomings, on the mistakes that we've made, on things that didn't go well for us, and so on. And then what happens is that we believe that these are accurate representations of who we are. But that's not true. It's just that we focus on these. It's a bit like with news. When you watch news on TV, 99% of it is negative, sad, or scary and frightening. If you believe that news on TV is a good representation of the world, you would not leave your house, and you would be terrified of what's out there. But the news on TV is not a good representation of how the world is. If you look at the majority of things that are happening in the world, there are far more acts of kindness, care, and good than acts of violence and destruction. When you leave your house, you don't see people running around with guns or punching each other in the face. You see people who are polite to each other, who, if you fall, will come to help you to get up and check that you're okay. The majority of people you'll come across will be nice, and if you ask for help, they gladly do so. Unfortunately, we humans are often like the news on TV. We focus on the negative aspects of ourselves, on mistakes we've made, or on our shortcomings. We also often compare ourselves to others, thinking they're somehow better than us. And we often ignore and dismiss a lot of positive things about ourselves. We build a very distorted view of ourselves and we carry on in life believing in it. As you can clearly see, this is a very imbalanced way of thinking. Therefore, the technique I'm going to introduce today is aimed at challenging this unhelpful balance. The rationale behind it is to restore a more equal balance and start noticing the positives in ourselves. However, this is different to some of the techniques you may have heard of. For example, where you may be encouraged to stand in front of a mirror and say positive things to yourself like, "I'm great," "I'm strong," etc. These types of affirmations might not work for one simple reason. There is no evidence of your greatness and strength there, and without evidence, these are just empty statements. The technique I'm going to teach you today involves actually giving proof of these positive statements, of backing up these claims with real-life examples, with facts. And don't worry, you'll find plenty. The technique I'm going to teach you now is simple. It basically involves jotting down a few things every day that you did during the day and what positive personal qualities it shows about you. To make it easier, you can look at the worksheet I prepared for you and is available for this masterclass, where I listed adjectives describing positive qualities, as our vocabulary can often be quite limited when it comes to describing ourselves using positive adjectives. We have no problem describing our friends or family using positive words. But if it comes to describing ourselves positively, we somehow struggle. Somehow our brain goes blank. So, use this list to begin with until you develop a repertoire of positive adjectives you can then describe yourself with. You'll also find a template of a diary in this masterclass materials that will help you to keep track of all the positive qualities you showed during the week. So, let's look at some examples so you understand better what I want you to do. Let's start with Monday. For example, you realized that your fridge is empty after the weekend, so you went shopping on your way home from work. This shows that you are motivated, mature, responsible, and organized. On Tuesday, your friend called as they were struggling with something in their personal life. And you were a good friend. You listened to them and tried to cheer them up, which shows that you are a good listener, kind, caring, supportive, empathic, friendly, and of course a good friend. On Wednesday, you went out to buy some lunch and you smiled to a person at the checkout, which shows you are friendly, polite, positive, and nice. On Thursday, you came back after work, tired, and to cheer yourself up, you watched your favorite show. This shows you were kind to yourself, relaxed, and appreciative. Friday, another day at work, and some problem appears. You manage to sort it out. So, it shows that you are a good problem solver, creative, proactive, inventive, smart, resourceful, motivated, determined, hardworking, and so on. I hope you get the gist. So, this exercise may seem simple, but in the first couple of weeks, people often struggle with it, because I'm asking you to step out of your comfort zone and do something you perhaps aren't used to. It will feel strange initially, but that's okay. Just be prepared that it may feel a little alien to you. Often people say that when they start writing positives about themselves, it feels like they are writing about someone else and not themselves, and they feel somehow disconnected from the words they write. This is because we're simply not used to writing about ourselves in a positive way, saying, for example, that we are a caring person, capable, fit, cheerful, committed, hardworking, and so on. And that's okay. You'll notice that after a few weeks of doing it, when writing positives about yourself, you'll smile to yourself as you'll start feeling deep down that yes, this is who I am. I am caring, hardworking, and so on. And you will actually start really liking and appreciating yourself. But allow time for it to happen. You had years and years of self-critical voice or environment that knocked your self-esteem down, so you cannot expect that this exercise will change it overnight. But you'll see, with time, you're going to start loving yourself more and see that you're not as bad as you thought you were. Another thing that I'd like to mention is that some people have an instant fear that this exercise will lead to them becoming big-headed or arrogant. But I can assure you, I've never seen this happen. Arrogance and healthy self-esteem are very different, and people don't become arrogant in the process of improving their self-esteem. I would argue that, on the contrary, this exercise might even encourage you to become a better person. I often give my clients this personal example. When I'm driving my car and I see someone waiting in the car on the side trying to join the traffic, I slow down, flash my lights, or use a hand gesture to indicate that I'd like to let them in. So off they go. This gives me a good feeling of doing something nice for someone, and I'm sure you all know this feeling too. In this particular moment, I actually smile to myself and think of myself as being a nice and considerate driver. I notice my positives and I acknowledge them. This puts me in a good mood, And then, if further down the road I see another car waiting to join the traffic, I'm more likely to be nice and let them in too. It also puts me in a very good mood, and I'm more likely to stay positive throughout the day. So, actually, recognizing positives in yourself might help you to become a better version of yourself. In her autobiography, Davina McCall describes very well what loving yourself means. She says, "Now I can quite easily say I love myself, although I always feel the need to explain that because I'm British. It's not arrogance. I don't think I'm perfect, but I know in my heart that I mean well, that I'm a good person, that I try my best at everything." So the lesson I've learned from my long journey to self-love is that it's absolutely worth the effort. So one more thing to remember about this exercise is that small things count. If you listened to a friend or gave them a hug, write down that you are a good friend, a good listener, loyal, etc. And if you asked someone how their day was, write down that you showed caring and interest. If you smiled at a cashier at the supermarket, you can jot down that you were friendly and positive. And if you went to work, you can write down that you were punctual, motivated, responsible, mature, conscientious, diligent, hardworking, and so on. I often say to my clients that you don't have to run into burning buildings and save puppies to have something to put on your diary of your positive qualities. You do so many things throughout the day that show you a good person, or that you're motivated or responsible, and so on. All these small things add up and make you an incredible human being. You just need to train your brain to start recognizing it, to start paying attention to it. Life is about all these small things that we do daily that makes us a wonderful human being. Learn to notice it and allow yourself to start loving yourself. On the last note, when it comes to this exercise, as I said before, it looks simple, yet it can be very difficult. What I noticed in my clinical practice is that often people start it, but then life happens and they lose their diaries or forget to write things down, and so on. It's actually something understandable and something to expect. You're asking your brain to start doing something it's not familiar with, and of course it will try to revert to its old ways. Our brains like familiarity. So, don't be discouraged if you start writing the diary, but then stop for some reason. Just go back to it. Don't beat yourself up if you initially can't keep it up on a daily basis or even 4 or 5 times a week. Sometimes we have to keep restarting doing something a few times before it sticks. So just set some reminders for yourself to make it easier. Or pair up with a friend to add an element of accountability and send to each other one example of what you did and what positive qualities it shows about you at the end of each day. As I said, this is one of the most powerful and effective exercises I came across that will help you to boost how you feel about yourself and provide you with hard evidence that you are actually not as bad as you thought. So good luck, and please share with me your success stories and how your life changed after using this exercise. I'd love to hear about the transformation you went through. I just love hearing success stories from my clients, so share it in my Facebook group or just drop me a private message there. See you in the next masterclass.